where I'm going to start with you guys, first of all, I want you to know that I'm going to use different names than the names that I actually worked with, just to kind of save the identity of some of the people that I worked with, these farmers for the project. Basically, I started off freshman year, knew immediately, international business major, French, German, I wanted to do it. I wanted to conquer the world, I wanted to do it all. And I went to the involvement fair, as pretty much everyone here did, and I thought, I know exactly where I want to go. I know exactly what I want to do. I know everything. I have the plan. I walk around, and I'm like, I've never seen this before. I've never seen this before. I've never seen this before. It was literally like a kid in a candy shop, seeing all these new things. I thought I was going to walk in. I thought I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Not at all. I walked into this one group, and at the time it was Psych, Students in Free Enterprise. And I thought, well, that's interesting. You know, it's business. It's something that I'm currently going into. I figured that's a field I should probably get into. Well, I started talking to them, and I realized this is more than just business. This is more than just trying to make money or profit. This organization is all about going out into the community, finding a struggling cause, and trying to find a way to benefit and help them benefit and help them get help and support from our community so that they can get up on their feet and they can make their business strive in our community. And so I walked up, first meeting, probably the scariest moment as a freshman. You're thinking, I've never been to a meeting before. What is this such thing? When I was in high school, I played football and that was pretty much it. I was not Mr. Involved, I was not Mr. Special. I have never been to a meeting before. This was new to me, new concept. Well, Mr. Ryan here is 15 minutes late to his very first meeting, and I walk in. What's the first thing that happens? You're in a conference room? Everyone just stares at you. They're all like, who is this kid and what is he doing? Well, I walk in, I'm like, hey, it's Ryan, freshman, and literally from the get-go, everyone in that organization brought me in. They sat me down next to a couple of the seniors, and I'm telling you, when you're a freshman and you get to sit next to some of the seniors, it's one of the coolest things ever. I honestly, looking up to these seniors, they took me in from the get-go, and they handed me a list of all these different projects that I got to choose from. And I was looking through a list, and one of the seniors suggested to me, do the Hmong Farmer project. And I'm like, what is a Hmong? What? I had no clue. I was so, I was Mr. City Boy coming in, never experienced anything, kind of wondering, what is a Hmong farmer? I've never been a part of farming. I don't know anything there is to do about farming. Why are you suggesting this to me? And he read into it a little bit more, and I talked to some people about it, and they started telling me about this problem, this situation that these farmers had in our community. And these farmers, most of them refugees, being forced over to the U.S., whole new culture, whole new standard of life, and they are very, very into their own culture. They believe in the way they do things, the way things should be done, and they all, for the most part, are farmers. And they have very certain traditions of farming and how they want to sell their product. And they only do it through farmers markets because that's the only thing that's available to them. And our goal was to try and help them find other places where they can go, other outlets, other places where they can sell their produce. And the problem is that because of all the American restrictions of what we have in business, they weren't able to get that break. They weren't able to get that American dream break that all of us have heard about, all those success stories that we've heard about. They've never had that opportunity before. They haven't had someone come up to them and say, hey, let me give you a hand. Let me help you out with selling this produce. And it brought me back. I actually, a little background, but to who I am. I lived in Zurich, Switzerland for 5 years in my life. And when I was there, it was probably getting off that plane for the first time, whole new culture. It wasn't my choice to be able to go there. And when I walked in, I thought, Mom and Dad, what are you taking me into? What am I getting myself into? And it was probably the most intimidating and heart-wrenching experience of my life, that first 2 years. I want to tell you an example. I was going to the tram. It's very common for people in Switzerland to use public transportation. I walk up into the tram. I'm sitting there. I see one of my family members in the tram. And I go up to them, hey, how you doing? You know, how you been? Blah, blah, blah. You know, us Americans, we're very in your face. We love to make noise. We love to be loud. We love to be friendly, right? I turn around. Hey, was machst du, Mann? Spinnst du? Bist du blöd? No. That's not allowed in our culture. That's not allowed in Switzerland. You can't just go up to someone and do that. And there I am, in public, being yelled at, completely humiliated. And how did I feel? I was lost. I felt tiny. I felt inferior. I didn't know what to do with myself. It took about 2 years of experiences before I actually was able to integrate myself into the culture. And so when I first saw this program with the Hmong farmers, I had a connection with them that I didn't have with any other type of program. I knew what it was like being a foreigner going into a different culture and not having the opportunities that were there for you. I knew what it was like being put down, asking for the opportunities, and people shutting down. I was struggling just to act normally on a train. These farmers are struggling to provide for their family. These farmers are not just trying to deal with the regular norms that you get when you walk into a community. They're trying to provide for their kids. They're trying to allow them to go to school. They're trying to put food on the table. They're trying to be able to sell it so that they can have a house to live under. And they're dealing with all the cultural norms. And they're not given an opportunity. They aren't given that hand to reach out to. So, the most touching moment for me was going to my first ever farmers market and getting to speak one-on-one with these farmers. I walk up to them, have this grandiose idea and plan as to how we're going to help them, what we're going to do for them. And I'm sitting there, going through this whole thing, this whole program with them. First question that comes out of their mouth: how does this benefit you? What do you get out of this? Why are you using me? What do you want? You know, it's all about us, thinking that we are coming to them and that we are trying to get something from them and exploit them. And that's exactly how I felt when I first walked into a foreign country. And I felt used and inferior, and I couldn't get that. It's a crazy job. It's something that unless you've done it before, you would never know. And the fact that it's at a whole nother level for them, the fact that it's about surviving for them. Heck, I had a family. I had a dad with a good income. All I had to do was just go to school, meet people, talk to people. So with this project where we're going and stuff, you know, the fact of having that connection makes service that much more important. Going into a meeting, there were times working with dining services here, love them, love Mary Jo, love Christy, anyone who I know we all know these people. You know, they are just phenomenal people to work with. I'd be sitting in a meeting with them. We're trying to come up with these programs for these farmers. And I propose a program. I look, we go down the group, say, is that legally okay? Will that work? Will that work under business standards? Yes. Last one? No. Fix it. Okay, fine. Go to the next meeting, come up with a new program, edit it a couple ways, go around the room. Okay, will this work? Yes. This will work, this will work. Nope. Oh, okay, fine. Walk away. If I got $1 for every time I had a head that did this, I would have paid my tuition already. I'm telling you. Literally. Seriously. So, having a connection allowed me to never say no. When you feel and you can relate to the people who you're doing service for, you'll never say no to them, for them, when you're doing things for them. So, before I leave you guys, I just want to say, basically, you know, I didn't know anything about farming. when you get a problem that you don't understand, you can try as hard as you can. You may not be able to solve it, but you can sure as heck go and facilitate it. You may not be able to understand it, but you can sure as heck do whatever you possibly can to support it. It may not be obvious to us, but with every single problem that we have in our community, you can find an unexpected connection. Thank you.